Hi, all. Kinsey Schofield here with our friend Scott Rouse, a leading expert in behavior and body language. Scott serves as a trusted advisor to law enforcement, the military, top tier CEOs, like real ones, not like Meghan Markle, and of course, me. Be sure to follow Scott on his YouTube channel and the Behavior Panel's YouTube channel. I want to talk about your YouTube channel for a minute. I hope you don't mind.
No.
I loved the video I watched last night, and it's called Behavior Battles. And
Yeah.
it's like where you pit two people against each other. And this time it was Prince Harry versus Meghan in New York. And you break down almost sentence by sentence their delivery and if they mean it, if they prepared for it. And you're judging all of this based on their body language. And you gave Prince Harry a pretty hard time, which I loved
Yeah. Well,
because I think that people think that he just naturally is born with it, but you're basically saying that's not good enough sometimes.
yeah. He did this one wrong.
Mm.
He didn't do it right. And there's some I talk about it in there, but I can't say what I think it is because
I know
I'll
exactly what you wanted to say. I saw it in
yeah.
your face when you said it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I love doing those. And it's the perfect situation because they're both giving a speech at the same place about the same stuff, basically. So
Hmm.
it's same stage, same everything, same setup, and the same crowd. So she comes out first and gives a little talk, then he comes out and gives a little talk. And
Hmm.
so then I just I just judge, or I hate to say judge, but I talk about the body language
You
of her.
measure, you measure.
There you go. So, and whoever shows the most body language that shows confidence and without deception, that's the winner.
All right. I want to ask you about something you said about Prince Harry because you kept saying he needed to look over his script better. Well, there's actually, bizarrely, video of him looking over his script the night before. This is you judged him when they're at the World Mental Health Day event. And the
Mhm.
night before at the gala, he's Megan uploaded video of him in a corner with a light. He's like under a light, kind of reading over his script. And she's cackling and she was like, Happy World Mental Health Day. He still makes me laugh, which you're just like, oh my gosh, these people in the audience are grieving their children, but let's make it all about you. You're right. Like he seems anxious and nervous. He's reading over that script the night before in the back, huddled under a light uncomfortably. Um, but I wondered the next day how much of it could have been insecurity. Does Harry know he has no business on that stage and he is not a credible authority when it comes to this subject? Might he be nervous and uncomfortable and awkward in positions where he realizes he bought his position there or he PR'd his way into that room?
Yeah, it could be anxiety. I mean, he could have an anxiety problem and it's popping up here. And he maybe have tried to ward that off by taking or doing something that would help calm him down. Anxiety is an odd thing. I think he may feel a little bit of anxiety because they probably didn't, in my opinion, the way it looks and sounds to me, I don't think they really did anything to get that award. And I think
Mm,
the people that gave it to him, of course, did it for the publicity, and they're doing it to make themselves look more, relevant to
right.
what's happening. And that whole thing's a game anyway. It's like award shows, like the Oscars or anything else. It's a game you got to play to be able to win one of those, and to win
Right.
one or be awarded one.
Right. Yeah. It's all a strategy that you're trying. I think from the celebrity point of view, you're trying to win people's opinion, but you're trying to change for them specifically, change public perception of them. When an executive at Spotify goes on his own podcast and says you're effing grifters, then you're going to try to change that public perception and say, look how hardworking we are. Look at all of these awards we're getting. And obviously we're getting these awards because we're hardworking, when really it's as simple as your publicist making a bunch of phone calls saying, do you want Harry and Meghan to come to your event? Do you want international eyeballs on your event? Do you want everybody talking about your company?
Did that happen? The Spotify thing? Some guy said they were grifters.
Effing grifters is what he said.
Wow, I didn't know. I say I don't keep up with all that, so I don't know. That's
He
crazy.
said one night
Wow.
or one day he wanted somebody to get him drunk so he could share the stories of a Zoom meeting he had to have with Prince Harry where they were trying to knock out some ideas and Harry's ideas were awful. And then the Wall Street Journal reported some of them shortly after that. Harry wanted to sit down with Donald Trump, Putin, and the Pope. That was his idea for a podcast. What is that guy going to say to them?
I don't know. That's crazy talk. I don't think Prince William would do that. And he would
No.
have, he that might help, with the problems that are going on now, though, that might help everybody get along better, but not with him. I don't get that.
Yeah, there would
That's
actually
odd.
be something meaningful behind Prince William's where Harry was just trying to cash a check. Harry was trying to justify the significant amount. And you're in or you work in the entertainment industry too. You know that those deals don't exist anymore. That you could just get $100,000 or $100 million or whatever the alleged deals were at the time where they would just want exclusivity. I don't even think Joe Rogan's is that tight anymore. Where I mean, Joe is still being handsomely rewarded, but now he has the freedom to appear on YouTube and things like that, which he couldn't at the time because Spotify was like, this is an evolving market, this is an evolving industry, and we've got to evolve with it, or we'll get left behind. So first impression, you watched some of the Fortune interview
I
ahead
watched
of,
it all.
yeah,
That
okay,
link you
so
sent me, I watched it.
yeah, okay, so you've watched the Fortune interview and you gave her a pretty decent review at the mental health event in New York. How do these compare? Because I did not watch the same person. My opinion is those are two different human beings. I know I'm not, I know that it is really Meghan Markle, but you know
Mm,
what I'm saying? Like we've talked before about her acting like being a model. She's acting like being a CEO in Washington,
mhm.
D.C. And of everything I've ever seen of her, you are right. That mental health summit was the most likable I've ever seen this woman.
Yeah. Yeah, because she wasn't ready. I don't, she read over her script, I think. Because I know what it looks, I've seen hundreds of entrepreneurs do the same thing when we teach them how to pitch, or I'll teach them how to pitch and they'll go do their pitch. And there are specific things they do when they understand what's happening. And then when they don't, and there's that one little spot there in the middle where they get right in that sweet spot and they can still make it through even though they don't know all of it and they still have to read it. So that's where she was. I know what that looks like. That's where, and so she was being more herself there. I was blown away as well because, I'm ready for, God, here we go again. It's going to be
Yeah.
more. But she really, she did a good job at that. Believe, and I'll be
We'll be
shot in the
destroyed in the
streets for
comment
saying
section.
that.
Yeah, we'll be destroyed in the comment section. But
Yeah,
you're right. She was prepared, and she was so confident. I
yeah,
did not think I saw the same person in Washington, D.C. What it felt like to me in Washington was a woman that had listened to a few entrepreneurial podcasts that existed before hers, that read Girl Boss for Dummies, that picked up keywords like Q4, and some of the other very trendy words she used that seemed like that. No, you said something about Prince Harry. Nobody talks this way when Prince
mhm,
Harry was delivering the mental health
yeah,
speech. That's how I felt about Meghan talking about being an entrepreneur. No one talks this way. You
right.
are trying to appeal to not me. I don't know who you're trying to appeal to, but you're not talking like a normal human being. Did you feel similar when you watched the Fortune interview?
Yeah, this is a different situation. Somebody, and because here's what I think the setup is. I think this is the structure. I think she's either provided those questions or they said, here are the questions I'm going to ask. But I think she provided them, and I'm going to get to the point of that. But let me tell you why first. They go, oh, because I think you'll see it from a different perspective. And anybody talks about Harry on there, this is why I think there's been a shift or a pivot, which we'll go over in a few minutes in her business because she's not referring to him as H or Harry anymore. Usually it was Meghan and Harry. Tim, what is Harry doing? And the interviewer always calls him Harry. Nobody has ever said your husband. I don't think. I don't watch all those, but the ones I've watched, nobody's called him her husband. So I think part of it is this is a restructuring thing here that we're seeing the one out of Washington because it's setting her up. Remember when she said thank you for the when she said being a leader and being a CEO, or it was, she saw that as a compliment because she
Hmm.
knows she's not that. So this whole thing is a restructuring of her business wise. It's actually a pivot of to a publicity pivot of how we see her.
Well,
Does
an
that make sense?
attempt, right? An
Yeah.
attempt. They're trying to change that. Okay, so to what you're saying about Prince Harry, Meghan says there's nothing taboo, or there shouldn't be anything taboo about talking about your financial independence or our independence overall. I immediately thought, what's up with Harry? Like, am I looking too much into things? Because you mentioned the Harry thing. He's not, she's trying to clearly brand herself as an entrepreneur independent of Harry. And we
Mhm.
all are sitting back going, you are a Nepo wife, lady. All of these opportunities are coming to you because of who you married. Um, so am I looking for something that isn't there when I hear her say, or our independence overall?
Yeah. What I think is happening here is she uses platitudes. It's those little phrases and things that really don't mean a whole lot, but they sound like they're important. It sounds like you just thought them up. This is these are platitudes almost that she's throwing out like that because that phrase is goes to women. There's a movement of women. They're like women, just women, strong, independent, all that, and that's fine. Great, but she's not been that woman up to this point. She's never really gotten into that. But now she knows from doing the research and looking at the demographics of the people she wants to buy her products from, financially, how to appeal to those people. So
Mm.
that's her way of appealing to that demographic, is talking about, being independent and be whatever the demo, if it had said fishing, all of us women love to, then all she would have talked about was fishing. It would have been based around
Oh, so
that.
she's talking to the room. She's only talking to the room. She's not talking to the people she's trying. I guess my interpretation initially of what you said was she was trying to talk to her audience, but you're saying like literally, like just the women in this room. She has catered an entire speech and back and forth with Fortune around the types of people she believe are sitting in that room right now.
To that demographic. Plus, it will blow out to the demographic watching it because they know the people in the room are going to be the same type of people watching that. That's where the interest will be. Oh, she's talking. Now, I'm sure they're aware that people like us are going to watch this too for the entertainment value, but from the business value or how important she is, that demographic is going to look. She's trying to get them on her side. She's a you know, what do you call it? A man with no country, another a woman with no country, because I'm not aware of anybody that goes, she's great. I just
Yeah.
love me. Some people do. I get slammed all the time on my channel when I do a video about her. But they say, you just do, you talk about her too much. You just can't get past it. Well, but that's one in, 8,000 of them. But
Right.
there's a demographic out there she's trying to get to like her because there aren't a whole lot of people that like her. And I get the feeling, last time we talked about how there's something coming, something on the way. I think she's getting ready to detach from a lot of something. Be it Harry, I don't know. It's going to be business, whatever. But she's getting unlocked from all these situations she's in. She's been let go from Spotify, Netflix. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, I'm sure. All these things she's separating herself from. She's not doing it, but she's being separated from them. So she's got to have somebody.
Hmm.
So that's why I think she's going for that demographic there. Let's take a shot at them and see what happens. That maybe that's going to work. I think that's
Let's
that's a plan.
I think that's so smart. Let's jump into some of the things she says because there are some moments that I specifically, you mentioned Netflix. She wiggles in her seat, and I was like, I've got to ask Scott about that. It's almost like she wants praise for going home for one day in the last 2 weeks to see her children. I mean, as far as we know right now, Paris was just an ego trip.
Mhm.
Filming near the death scene of Princess Diana. Then she goes to New York to accept an award that none of us believe she earned herself. She's playing around New York, going to Soho House with Serena Williams, then off to Washington, D.C. for this conference to talk about an enduring brand when, as ever, isn't even a year old yet. Should we really be like breaking our backs to applaud this woman for spending 24 hours with her children when all of this looks very frivolous?
And let's say 15 years ago, I may have seen that a little bit differently and said, I understand. There's a lot going on and all that. Let's talk about Nancy Grace for a minute. A
Oh,
lot of
love
people,
Nancy. Love Nancy.
I don't, a lot of people don't like her. Like she's so mean. I thought she was too. She's the sweetest thing in the world. When me and the guys on the behavior panel met her, sweet. We
Teddy
all
bear.
absolutely
Human
just
teddy bear.
love her, right? So, do you know where her children are right now?
Where?
Wherever she is,
The
she takes them
twins.
with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I know musicians who are on the road that do that. Zach Brown does that.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people do that. They take their, especially if they're that age or little bitty ones, and you want to be, that's the important time. They'll stay with them. They'll make them. They'll not make them. They'll go on the road with them. And they'll
Right.
do 2 weeks out of a month tour, or 3 weeks out of the tour, or be there the whole time. I mean, you guys do that with their wives as well. Used to it was just all the guys going, but no, you get enough buses where everybody goes. And and I don't want to tell who the names are because everybody's so private.
Right.
But
Right.
I do know one act that everybody knows, and they they make sure they don't care what you're doing. If you're in the band and you want your wife to go with you or your fiance to go with you, they make that happen. And they say, "Hey, listen, is she coming with you?" Not like, "Is she coming with you?" It's like,
Yeah.
"Do you want her to come with you?" Because that's not a problem at all. And this is one of those bands that have been around forever,
Yeah.
and they do that. So it's important to do that. Now she's coming on like, no, I have to get home to see him, for a day. I had to do that. In my opinion, she should have taken those kids with her. And even if she had to bring a nanny with her to take care of them or whatever, or Harry go too. What's he doing?
Right.
Where is
Yeah.
this cat? I mean, he has what's he actually doing besides hanging out with his buddies or something, making fun of her? I shouldn't say that. If she's got a problem with that, she should take him with her. You think she can't afford it? I know she can. So I'm getting all worked up. There'd be no problem for her to say, no, me and the kids are going to go to London. We're going to go to it. You want to come with us? He's like, no, I got to hang around these guys in golf or whatever it is I'm doing. She could take the kids with her. That should not be a problem. And she thinks I've got to go out and be famous and all that and go to the whatever, all the stuff she was doing.
Fashion
But
week.
that's what a nanny's for in that situation. She sits there and takes care of them. Don't worry, I got you. That's why I'm here. I'll take care of it. Okay, great. Then she comes home, and even if they're asleep, she can kiss them on the head. She can be with them. And she's chosen not to do that and
Mm.
then complain about it because she's trying to give the air. She's really busy and got so much going on. She can't even, I'm trying my best. I don't have time for family. It's a job. Nothing's a job for her.
Yeah.
That she should take them with her.
She says, well, she's going to mention she's not going to mention the royal family, but she alludes to the British royal family here in the next question, and we'll break that down. But she alludes to the British royal family in With Love Megan season 2 when she's talking to Tan France, I think his name is, and they're discussing how they hate being away from their kids. And she said that being away from the longest she was away from her children was 2 or 3 weeks, when she would, but she doesn't go into detail, but we know she was in the UK for the Queen's funeral, but she tells the guests that it made her physically ill to be away from her children. And it's just this constant, the only thing consistent about these two is their inconsistency, but it does seem like they, um, prove themselves to be hypocrites more often than not with their actions and even sometimes with what they say later on, because she tells Netflix, I hate being away from my children, I was physically ill the last time I was away from them. And then everybody's like, oh, she's talking about the British royal family. So she knew what she was doing with that comment. She knew that people would connect the dots, and that would be the vague mention of the royal family in season 2, and it would garner headlines. And then she does it again right here.
5 years ago was a very different situation for all of us. And, Archie was so little, and I had just gotten pregnant with Lily around that same time. So we were nesting and healing. And also, I don't even know I had the bandwidth at that time to think about what the big picture dream was. There was no plan. It was just, let's get through these next couple years, create community, which was always so important to both of us in our new environment. And then as we started to get into our producing, through our deal with Netflix, really creating projects that we felt were compelling. And then I said, okay, I've always loved being able to share. I've always loved being able to cook and entertain. Is there a business here?
Who doesn't want more energy, metabolic, immune, and skin support? Meet Peak, a luxury brand transforming wellness with the absolute best, rare, and precious plants, cutting edge ingredients, and formulations rooted in traditional wisdom. Their science backed botanicals, minerals, and supplements support sustained energy, metabolic function, immune health, and radiant skin, making it easy to live each day with vitality. One of their newest essentials, the Deep Hydration Protocol, is a two-part drinkable skincare system that keeps your body and skin hydrated while promoting better sleep. Made without sugar, fillers, or artificial flavors, and crafted with natural ingredients for a clean spa-like taste you can feel good about. Daily use supports hydration, glowing skin, improves sleep, and sustained energy. I love in the morning BT Fountain, their beauty electrolyte. It's delicious. Then in the evening, I switch to RE Fountain. That's their calming electrolyte. It has this gentle form of magnesium in it, eases tension, and I get a great night's sleep without waking up feeling groggy the next day. Wake up rested and stay hydrated all day. Get 20% off for life, a complimentary gift, and explore Peak's clean, pure ingredient products at peaklife.com/Kinsey. That's PIQUE life.com/Kinsey. This is hydration redefined. Try it and glow from the inside out. I want to ask you about a couple of things. First of all, she's a gorgeous woman. Like, she's gorgeous to watch her. I mean, she's a good public speaker, and I think she's physically looks very well put together. The white, the way it's flowing off of her, like, presentation is good, but
Mhm.
what's coming out of her mouth is BS. If you're familiar with the story,
Yeah.
um, in the first few years that her and Harry come back from the United States, she's doing Zoom um, campaigns, vote campaigns with Kamala Harris, Stacey Abrams, Hillary Clinton. She's doing a lot of charity Zoom videos. I mean, she's an active person. Are we literally supposed to believe that they step away from the British royal family, a huge, huge, huge historical moment without any plans? Like that, to me, that just sounds silly. And I don't believe that whatsoever. And again, it contradicts her brand, which is like she goes above and beyond to make things special. She goes above and beyond to make things work. And then the healing part, does she not realize that by saying that, people are going to start talking about the drama between her and her in-laws? So I know I gave you a lot to work with there, but that was my first instinct in watching that.
Well, think about the structure of it. Everything is there that says, I'm a mother, I'm healing, I want community, I want to do things, I want to do great things. All these things, is there a business there? She's asking herself questions and then answering the questions. I mean, this is a setup again for the rebranding of her, not necessarily her business, but for her. So a lot of things are changing in here. When she's talking about healing, she's talking about how everybody's giving her a hard time over all that stuff, not just the royal family, but everybody, the world, So that's when she's talking about the healing. We can relate to that. The whole thing is structured to make us feel for her and understand where she's coming from. So that's why she covers all those spots of that. It's she's not brilliant, but whoever is in charge is pretty smart. Because
When
I
she
don't think
touches
she's
her, when she touches her chin, what does that mean? I mean, it looks very graceful and elegant, but to me, it says something like, I'm, I, I need help going somewhere in my head.
that's called framing. And so if I were to tell you and say, you know what I think though? I think these kids can be president, whatever it's going to be. That's you're framing your face, you're setting the thing up.
Mhm.
That's what that is.
Okay.
In a few minutes she's going to touch her neck and we'll talk about that and when she touches it and why that's important.
Isn't
But
that
right
funny
here,
that she says that she it was really important for them to build a community? It's like you've burned both of your families. Like,
yeah,
is community really that important to you? I mean, I just have such a hard time digesting what she's trying to sell here.
goes back to platitudes. That's what she's full of platitudes, these things that she thinks sounds. I'm sure she talks a lot about the universe and how it's in charge. I'm sure she talks about a lot of things that are similar to that. There are
Yeah.
these platitudes that everybody uses and says, "Oh, this." That's why I like community. I like sharing. Really, you like sharing? What are you talking about? Like I said before, nobody talks this way. If somebody came up to you and you said, "So what's going on, man? What's happening?" I'm out sharing because I really like sharing a lot. and with a community.
Yeah.
What are you
Just
talking about? Nobody talks that way. If she were more authentic in these things, notice how different she is in this interview than she was from the Jamie Kern Lima one and the other one with that businesswoman.
mm-hmm.
Completely different.
Emma
Completely
Grande.
different here. Yeah,
Mm,
because she's not mirroring this woman. That's another reason I think it's set up. She's not trying to get this woman on her side. The woman's already on her side because
yeah.
every other person we see her talk to, she tries to get them to like her. And she engages those things that make you like a person. The fake charisma, in other words. We're not seeing
Mm.
that.
Do you see any deception when she goes into the origin story of the brand? I'm just making jam. Is there something here? Because when she was at the Time 100 conference, she told them on that stage, and again, we're talking about all these different versions of her and all these different versions of her stories. She tells the Time 100 group that it was Netflix's idea. Yes, she was making jam, but it was Netflix's leadership that said, there's a business here. We can create a business here. And at the time, I felt like that was because people weren't sure as to whether or not as ever would work. And this gave her a clean out. Well, it was their idea, not mine. And now all of a sudden she's saying, like, and that's when it came to me. I can make this a business. It's like now all of a sudden she's no longer blaming the management or leadership at Netflix for the idea of as ever.
Well, Kafka, a lot of this goes back to Kafka, but I don't think Kafka actually said it. I just think it's been um, put on him
Telephoned into coffee.
Yeah. So I think it's been put on him as every man must be the hero, is necessarily the hero of his own story.
Mm,
So she's got to be the one that's in charge. She's got to be here's what happened. You've heard the thing, it's better to sell the story than sell the truth. When you talk about a person, the myth than the real history of it.
I could tell you that Meghan Markle's heard that quote.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what's happening. She's restructuring it so it sounds good, makes a great story. Everybody does it, but it's just done on a scale that's larger here, and more people are looking at it and can tear it apart
Mm,
more easily.
yeah, it's
That's why
me.
that's another reason I don't think she's got a structure that is solid, because somebody would have remembered that and said, you can't say this because you said that. And we've talked about two different things happening here so far. If you had one person in charge, excuse me, or had a team that was paying attention to what was going on, or the same person, she wouldn't have these problems like this because they would remember not to say that, or be able to tell her, you can't say that. Remember you said this? So you gotta be cool. You can't do that. We have to say something else, or just don't say it. There's nobody there to tell her those things.
But I was making a lot of jam. So it ended up becoming the thing that really was my passion project that I turned into a business.
Amazing. And that became As Ever, which you launched about a year and a half ago. And went through a rebrand. I'm curious.
Launched in February.
You had one of your ventures was a podcast called Confessions of a Female Founder.
Yes.
About a year and so change after launching a company like that, what would your confessions be? Has it been harder than you thought, easier than you thought, more rewarding, harder? What's the takeaway?
Well, I think year one for any founder is just a lot of learns. And so we founded As Ever earlier this year. I think the first drop was in February or March.
Can I just quickly ask you, when she's searching for February or March, I didn't believe that. I felt like she knew exactly when the first drop was. Am I being too sensitive?
No, she may know, but she wants to make it look like she's thinking. That's why that hand goes up here now.
Yeah.
She's framing, but at the same time, I'm a thinker. I'm thinking about this.
Oh my gosh.
And I had this incredible fortune of having every SKU sell out within under an hour, which is amazing. And also, you don't learn a lot.
A lot about inventory management, supply chain.
Could we do something that feels a little bit like the tenor of how I'm building this? And really be candid, both talking to female founders who had scaled and sold, and equally to other founders that were on their first run, in many ways like I was. So I was learning from a lot of the women that I invest in and also that I'm friends with. But, I think my learns were to continue to give yourself the grace to have to pivot. And you do, because that first sellout, we said, great, let's 10x the inventory for the next seasonal drop. We'll get all the metrics that we need. And then it sold out within 4 hours.
This moment where she's 10xing and she's in the learns and she's touching her forehead and she's pretty animated when she's It was a simple question. What have you learned? What's your confession as a female founder? And she's taken us on a roller coaster. And I also like the little humble brags where she's like, "We sold out so quick, I couldn't learn anything, and then we sold out again." And it's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I'm gonna punch myself in the face.
Yeah. This one, I see a lot going on here. So
Oh,
this automatically puts me into interrogator mode. So if I
let's
look
go.
weird, that's what it is. There's a what's happening here when she starts talking about business and she doesn't know, and she's going back to the things she set up to talk about, this story, this constructed story she's built about what she knows about business. She starts doing this thing with her hand and starts, and these are called illustrators when you're emphasizing specific words and phrases, like I did just then, specific words and phrases. And that's your brain doing that. So you make sure they know. So when she starts doing this, that's when she's starting to, you know what, she's not telling the she that's to me, that's where the deception starts, because she's not being deceptive about what's happening. It's the stuff she wraps that truth in is the deceptive part, because she says we knew we had to, we talked about 10xing the inventory, and then we sold out, but she doesn't say, so we did that. She says, and then we sold out for whatever. So she skirts right over that, and it's a way nobody will notice it. So she didn't say they did 10x it, because they did 10x it, that she wouldn't have sold out. That's a
Mm.
whole lot of product you're talking about there. When you 10 times what you had before, and it's not a story that entrepreneurs are talking about, it's not something that you have and I have and people we know have, that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you have those types of numbers, you give them to Bloomberg. Bloomberg said she refused to give them inventory numbers. She refused to give
oh,
them product numbers. Like, I feel like if that's a true story, that's a story you're on the cover of Entrepreneur magazine.
exactly, because they can vet that and make sure you tell the truth. I don't think that's honest there. I think she's not being honest there. A lot of that through there. The whole thing is set up, like I said before, to restructure how we see her as a business person, right? The way she's talking, the way she refers to her husband, she's independent of him. She talks about independence, all those things. Something this I think she may see this as her last. She's got a backup plan, which would be, okay, I'll just rest on the money we have and I won't try to be a famous person. But she's trying to show everyone she's an entrepreneur. Now, if we think about all the things she's done up to this point, this woman interviewing her talks about all the success she's had before. How many things has she been? She's been a whole lot of things. Just think if you were an actress, if you were,
Wait, because she hasn't even told us about how she used to work at the paper source as a wrapping. Like that is one another funny like meme you see. I want next time I see it, I'm gonna send it to you. But there is a viral video that just goes into all the things Meghan Markle says she did as a kid. Like
oh,
she's had a million jobs. Well, my grandpa used to own an antique store, and I would be at his house or I'd be at his antique store every day after school. I mean, sometimes. And then she's like, I used to work at Humphrey Yogurt, and then I used to, do calligraphy, and it's just like a list of like these 300,000 things this girl says that she did growing up. And you're like, and not one person has come out to say, I used to work with this girl at the yogurt shop. It's just, she's
yeah,
always willing to toot her own horn.
And really not being able to gauge how things are going to sell out, especially when you have people who have an appetite for the products in global territories, but we aren't selling internationally yet. And so they're finding workarounds where they'll have their friends stock up for them and then ship it to them separately. So the inventory is moving in a way that we hadn't anticipated, which is the biggest blessing.
I have some of those friends, and they just had their friends purchase things and send them to the UK so that they could make vomit videos on YouTube of them trying her product. So that might
ooh,
not necessarily be the greatest thing, having people stock up and send them elsewhere. There's a lot of movement, a lot of she's very animated throughout this thing. And I feel like you're right. She's got some talking points, whether asked or not. She's going to get them out there because she practiced them.
yeah. But I've tried some of those products. So a buddy of mine sent me a box of stuff.
I was
Said,
accused of it by some of you in the comment. Some of you watching right now accused me in his comments of sending him this box. I would never do that to you, Scott. I love you.
but it has, like, I've got this box here. It has the cookies in it, and all. So I had my sister make the cookies. My wife was gone. But so I tried all that stuff and did a video about it, and the cookies were actually pretty good.
Oh,
Everything else, well, I'll tell you, if you watch the video, see. But so I actually like the cookies. But what she's talking about here is She's making a lot of this is she's not this person. She's not. I know what that looks like when you're not being that person. If you'll see when she talks, she braces herself up against the back of the chair, then she gets the hand going again as she's talking about whatever the business stuff is. One thing she doesn't say. I've told you about Michael Bertram before. This brilliant entrepreneur ran the Entrepreneur Center, the Nashville Entrepreneur Center. You can't talk to this guy for 30 seconds without him being talking about the customer. She never says the word customer, and that's who she's talking about. And if you're at a business situation, that's who you want to talk to these people about. You don't want to say the people who do this and they want that and it's for them. The people that no, you call them customers. That's what you do. That should be the mindset of every CEO that has products to sell. It's the customer.
Does
Yeah.
it bother you at all that she keeps adjusting her hair? That's one thing she does throughout this entire interview. She adjusts her hair a lot.
Well, let's notice when she does it, what's happening there, because that's an adapter. That's how you get rid of that built up stress and tension. Some people will do it. We saw Harry do it all the time with his hand the other day, or on this other video we were talking about earlier. And a lot of times what she'll do is she'll sort of put her hand on her side and she'll sort of slap her thigh sometimes when she's standing. Anyway, I've noticed that a few times. But when she's doing that, that's called preening as well, because she wants you to look at her as she's talking about something that's really important. So she looks more like a CEO or more important to you as she's doing that. I don't know if that comes across right or not, but that's one of the main things. But the other thing is it's an adapter. She's trying to get rid of that built up stress and tension from sitting there talking, focusing on this woman. And every time she starts talking about this and starts throwing out some of these platitudes about business and all that, she does this and she looks at the audience. So notice when she touches her hair, notice when she looks at the audience, because that's when she wants people to say, here's the person I am. That's why she looks at that audience, because those things connect. And she turns around and goes, hey, I'm a CEO. Listen to what I'm saying, not just to this woman she's talking to.
I've seen you say that about her touching her hair before. So that is interesting that is a habit that she hasn't kicked yet. Anything else standing out to you so far? We're 5 minutes in. Uh, it just feels sometimes to me like she wasn't not prepared. She's prepared for the questions, but these don't sound like the sexy questions she'd probably prefer to be asked. Like, okay, so you say you bought all this product, and you're still unable to meet demand. So what's the plan? Like that doesn't sound to me like a question she'd want to be asked. And then, you see the way that she dodges it. Like there was no real plan there. She's like, oh my gosh, and people are buying it internationally. Well, that's not what she asked, girl.
Yeah. Well, she skipped past that with that thing about 10xing the inventory. So
Mm-hmm.
she's taken care of that. She's knocked that out of the way already and assumes everyone, as most everyone would, that they did sell 10 times as much as they sold the first time out. But she never says that. She never said, and that would be and that personality type, this would make, if you were a narcissist, this would make me look awesome. So
Yeah.
we sold 10 times more than we did that time. You know what we're going to do this time? I think we're going to try 20 times. And you'd keep going, and they'd have product up by now. If they'd sold out. Ask Michael Bertram. If you ever talk to him, what do you do if that happens? He'll tell you. You get 20,000 the next time.
Yeah, and
And what
there's
happens?
not like a so when she sells out, it just has a sticker on it that says, so first of all, there's still product available on her website right now. I think I might have told you this the last time we talked, but I just did a documentary about Meghan, and the production company ordered everything that was available, and the only thing that showed up was the wine. And then they got an email saying, sorry, some of your order isn't available. Would you like a refund, or would you like to wait to receive the product? And we don't know when it will be available. If this is my first time ordering from a company, first impressions matter, and I'm not impressed that you've taken my credit card information and you cannot give me what I've purchased. So like it'll just have a sellout sticker on it. If I'm selling out and I'm confident that I'm going to continue to sell out, I have a pre-order link up. Pre-order. I want to be prepared
Yeah.
for the next go round. So I'm going to let you order it. And so I know exactly how much inventory I need ready to go when I'm prepared to launch the next go round. But it just sold out stickers just sit on the website forever.
You know what? If you want them, I've got one more box of these because they sent me 2 boxes. I've still got the flour sprinkles. It's full. I just took a little sprinkle out and put those on something. And I've got the tea, the ginger something tea still.
Yeah.
If you want those, I'll send them to you.
You are
You can use
so
those.
sweet. You are so sweet. Do you, but even like, so you're like, okay, they're good, but are they
Yeah.
so good that you would ever, like, you know how you sometimes sit around and go, I could use a Krispy Kreme donut.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
are they so good that you sit around and go, you know what? I cannot stop thinking about Meghan Markle's cookies.
No, no. And the $14.
Yeah.
So if I actually bought them, then you'd see me on the news with my wife beating me to death out in the driveway with that box of cookies when it showed
And the
up.
bank statement going, this is, you're on a budget, buddy.
Yes, well, my husband and I were in an overall deal with Netflix, and then not dissimilar to Higher Ground and the Obamas deal. Once that had come to its term, the extension of it, which was such a incredible sign of the strength of our partnership, was now being in a first look deal, which is also exciting because it gives us flexibility to go to our partners first, and then at the same time to be able to shop content that might not be the right fit for Netflix, but has a home somewhere else. So for our non-scripted team and our scripted team, we've been doing a lot of content development that can meet different rooms.
So the way that she is, first of all, when it was announced that there was this demotion in the Netflix deal, and there's no other way to explain it. You just at the beginning you were given a huge contract exclusivity, you know, like they used to do with Elizabeth Taylor. Yeah, we want five pictures from you. You know, you can't work with
Right.
anybody else. We're going to put you up in a house in Hollywood. Like that was the deal. Like we want all of this content from you. We believe in you. Don't go anywhere else, and we're going to pay you an ungodly amount of money. They hit it out of the ballpark with the docu-series about Harry's family, of course, because it's drama, and everything since then has not met expectations, including with Love Meghan. So the verbiage that went out was almost word for word when they signed this new deal with Netflix, which is just a first look deal, including that Obama information. So you get the sense watching her regurgitate almost word for word what some of those initial reports were. But don't, you know, criticize this because Obama got the same deal. You get the sense that that is a narrative that they started themselves, their team, you know, the fact that she can say it word for word in that setting.
Yeah. Another thing, the deal she has with Netflix is the same deal you have and the same deal I have and the same deal everybody watching this is. If you can find somebody that works at Netflix, give it to them, and there's your offering to Netflix. So that's Netflix saying, nah, we're not into it. If you get something great, that was the meeting. If you get something happening, come see us. You know, we'll take a first look. How's that sound? Give us a first look. We'll do that. I'm sure they wouldn't hold them to it
Mm-hmm.
if they didn't bring them with the first look. So they're out, believe me, they're out trying to get somebody else to do it too. And when they get somebody else to do it, they won't turn on Netflix, but they'll make it look like, oh, it's something we couldn't pass up. Well, it will be something they can't pass up because that's going to be the only place that does it if they do it. Somebody will, if they don't end up just putting it on YouTube or something. But that's
Well,
what
yeah,
that's about.
that's an interesting thing that you say that because she goes into micro content as well. But did it mean anything to you in the middle of that difficult question that she moves her body, that she moves, like, to me, that jumped out at me, the way that because she is sits erect almost the entire time. You know, even these feel very scripted. Every hand movement feels very intentional. So that adjusting in the seat, her squirming a little bit, that felt weird to me.
Yeah, because and we call that seat adjustment or postural adjustment. When you move around and say, okay, here's what's going to happen. You're preparing to give your answer. It's almost aggressive toward you. So you sort of prepare yourself for it. Like earlier when she would brace herself against the seat and start talking about the business part of it. So that the part I think she's talking about there is what was it? It was with Netflix and the deal and the Obamas. Was that what it was? The
Yeah,
same as
so
the
she's
Obama?
trying to say that the reason that this is not a downgrade, which was
No.
what all the headlines said, was because it's the same deal that the Obamas got. So she's comparing herself to the Obamas, but she's using the Obamas as an example to explain that this was not in any way, shape, or form like she's still getting what the Obamas got, right? Like she's
Mhm.
trying to dismiss any criticism around the fact that she lost this major deal.
Yeah, but she's softening the point that everybody talks about. So, well, they lost their deal with Netflix. They don't have a Netflix deal, which they don't, and which they did. And so same thing with the Obamas, so I'm trying to put myself on it just makes you look better when you put yourself near them in your conversation about what you're doing.
Hmm.
That same thing there. Again, it's a business thing. Notice when they talk when she's talking about business. Last time we talked about the suprasternal notch, this little dimple right here in your neck. When something happens that is emotionally charged, you'll see a little child get hurt, or somebody gets hit by a car on TikTok or something, or a movie. Women women do this more than men. They'll touch the suprasternal notch. Now, what she does when she does it, her hand comes up and touches this little part of her neck here, and she's touching that as well with these fingers here. So she doesn't like talking about that business stuff. That whatever the business thing she's talking about right there, there's a problem in there. That's not it's not good. There's a situation there that bothers her. I would put everything on that
Yeah.
because I've seen that 1,000 times as well.
I believe that this is not a strength for her. She wants to get through these questions about Netflix. She would rather talk about her hero product, Jam.
Hmm. And
Oh, wow.
and a lot of people make fun of it being called the hero product. That's what you refer to it as,
Well, yeah,
but
no,
only
I
but only
totally
in the
believe that.
company.
I
But
think she has read a book or two, and she just regurgitates it in
yeah.
a very bizarre way.
Yeah, we're hearing information that she's getting from two different places. The reading part, I don't think she's a big reader because her vernacular doesn't tell us that, doesn't show us that. There's I won't tell you that. So when she's talking about the hero product, that's something you talk about you don't talk about that in this situation. You don't call, and she's done it. I've heard her say it at least 3 times in other places. Talk about the hero. You don't do that. That's not the vernacular for this situation. So she's read that. And the other things she's saying are the things that people have told her in her meetings. Well, how do I explain that then? Here's what you say, here's what you do. Okay, I got it. And she remembers and she writes them down.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that's
Yeah.
that's most likely what's happening. She's writing
Yeah.
that stuff down to memorize it and then throwing it up.
What we've designed is being able to have so much robust support in year one, where you have the show complementing the brand, where content and commerce are meeting, and then still enabling me to have autonomy to build out my own team and scale it in the way that I envision. That will go on. The business will, of course, go on longer than a series, and so it's really been a partnership that I'm grateful for.
She says right there, what stood out to me in this answer is one of the things. Of course, the business will go on longer than the series. She's telling us right there that there's no season three. I think that,
Oh, of course.
yeah,
Yeah, I wouldn't think there'd be a season 3 because she skipped right by it. And
yeah.
she may see this Christmas special as season 3. She may be trying to couch that and put that in your brain as it's season 3 or in place of season 3,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the way she says, of course.
Will we be seeing a season 3 of With Love, Megan? Will it be on Netflix? Do we know?
Well, the holiday special is coming out in November, and it's a really good one. So I think looking at that format again with a year of learns, so we're able to say 8 episodes for 2 seasons. It's a lot of work. I do lots of gift wrapping techniques. You guys know I used to teach gift wrapping at Paper Source and advanced gift wrapping. So, all of those things that you do as an auditioning actor, that's not the full circle I was expecting, but here we are.
She's trying to act embarrassed by that. Like, I feel like that's what that is. Like, oh my God, but she's
It's
proud of
sad.
it. That's why she's repeating it.
It's sad. I feel sorry for her here because that's pitiful.
I mean,
I feel
what do you think is pitiful? Do you think that what's pitiful is the act she's putting on?
Yeah, because
Okay.
you're
Okay.
seeing she's protecting her ego here. She has to keep telling you how wonderful things are. Maybe it's because I know that situation, I know about it so much, but I see what she's doing. She's trying to seem better than she is. So
Hmm.
it's why she has to say I was a professional gift wrapper or what it was. You know, it's sad. It for me it hurts my feelings for her. I hate to say I like I'm empathetic toward me, but I am. I see what's happening there. I can see her it's protection of the ego. That's what you're seeing. Narcissists at the root of it, they hate themselves, despise themselves, and they want everybody to think they're wonderful. That's why she keeps saying those things when she's touching her head and moving her hair around and stuff. Again, those are just adapters because that bothers her. So we're just seeing protection of the ego. That's why it's sad. That's why I feel sorry for her here.
That's interesting that that's how you um or that that's what this is. What
Yeah.
did I think this was? I think that this is her as a viewer, the way I digest it is her trying to look relatable and down to earth. By like being like, I used to slum it. I used to work at Paper Source, but I feel like when I watch her, I see her like no, I always say nobody loves Meghan Markle as much as Meghan Markle. So
Mhm.
that's interesting that we have two different takeaways from that clip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Everybody's going to see it from
I
a
think
different
she's
perspective.
bragging. I think she's like in a way bragging. Like I used to work at Paper Source. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
weird. Did you see the pivot? The trying to blow past season 3.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
we might just go into social media. We might just do it in TikTok bites. Like it was like we're trying to figure out how to deliver something in less than 2 minutes. I mean, well, welcome to 2025. When
Yeah.
this show first came out, I said we don't need 45 minutes of Meghan Markle doing things that we know we can learn how to do in 60 seconds on Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah. She's great at getting past the there's a term you use for that. It deals with a cow, but about getting past that part that's not true. She's a pro at that. That's what she's really good at. If she would put on an online course of telling how to do that,
Yeah.
oof. Yeah, because every con in America would want to get a hold of that. That's the information that if it got out would be bad, for so many people because they go, here's how you do it. That's how
Mm-hmm.
they're doing that. My God,
Mm-hmm.
and they all think she's brilliant. She may be from that perspective. That's horrible. I shouldn't say it either, but it's true. She's so good at blowing past those things. And it's like somebody throwing something at her and she ducks out of the way, oof, yeah, there you go. Got out of the way of that one. She's great at that. She's figured out how to do that. But again, keep in mind, I think these questions I think they either gave them the questions or just said, here's going to be the questions you can get ready for them. Because these answers are way too smooth. The thinking she's doing, that's fake. She's
Yeah.
not, and nobody has the answers right out of the gate for everything. I don't. I'm sitting here, I've been, I,
You're tap dancing.
yeah, I'm a professional body language expert, analyst for, the military and the government and everything. And it takes me a minute to think about things sometimes because that's what it takes to happen. It takes a couple of seconds for it you have to think about it. No thinking here. She's just bang, shooting them out. So the space between her answers and the question is way too short.
Yeah.
It's not from excitement. It's from I know the answer already. I know that when she starts the question, I know where we are. Bang, it goes. So there's no reason to think. And when she is taking that time to think, that's not real. That's why she starts this thing and she starts this thing. Because that's the pose, that framing of I'm thinking, literally.
That's really interesting. And I do remember when she was on the Drew Barrymore show that there were reports that the Drew Barrymore, the way that one of the ways they secured her was by saying, we'll give you the questions in advance so that you feel completely comfortable when you sit down on the couch. So I would absolutely not be surprised at that. Let's see. I think we go into social media here.
So I'm curious, as you think about expansion for As Ever, we've talked a little bit about obviously there's global appeal that you could tap into, and there's also stores. Right now, you're direct to consumer. Can we expect to see some of your stuff maybe in like a Target, or where could we physically buy it, do you think, in the next year?
Well, I think a retail component is so important, especially in growing a business, but also what I'm really working to convey and my intention with As Ever is getting back to things that are tactile, how we connect with each other. You want to put your hands on it. How does it feel? And you can only convey so much of that, obviously, in videos or in e-commerce. So I think my intention would be to have really bespoke, small retail collaborations, do some interesting ones as well in global territories. And then, of course, as you think about scaling, it's a brand that's accessible, but it still has a quality that feels as though it's masstige. And so when we think about larger retailers, I think in the next couple of years, that would make sense.
Did you have any response to that specifically, Mastige? Megan, sit down.
Listen to there's a thing called fading facts. It's one of those things that I coined. And when someone's giving you an answer, they're telling you something and they don't believe in it, they're not confident with it, and maybe being deceptive. And as they talk, it gets quieter and quieter and quieter. She turns into that voice, the vocal fry. She starts talking about things like that. Her voice does that. This whole thing here was a little bit of a ride here. I mean,
So
go back.
basically, she's saying, "Are you going to end up in Target?" And Meghan Markle does not answer whatsoever. Meghan Markle gives her like four different explanations of what she could potentially. Did you have an answer after that? Is Meghan Markle going to end up in Target?
No, because
But yeah, go into that.
what would
Sorry.
happen is this: the same thing going on with Netflix is the same thing she's talking about here. I'm not doing Netflix, but I may do YouTube or one of these other things over here. We're not going to do Target. We're going to do, I want to get into, these individual stores around the country. You lost your mind. That's not the way that works. If somebody said Target and you go, yes, but Target apparently won't do, there's no retailer that would, I don't believe there may be one, but I don't see why they would. Number two, nobody goes to, a whole lot of people don't go to the store these days. You get everything from Amazon, a lot of stuff. And when you do go to Target for those things you need, it's going to be those things you need already. There's not going to be any way you can talk somebody into buying Meghan Markle's stuff. And where do you put it in Target? If she's supposed to have this niche brand and all this other stuff going on, where would you put it in Target? So
Right.
she can't get in Target. And I'm sure they've said, yeah, we're not, no, that's great. You're doing great. Keep it up, kid. But not yet. They always say not yet. But if you can get, like with entrepreneurs, let's say in Nashville, if you can get something into Whole Foods, even if it's, just on the rack in one store, you say, we've got them in Whole Foods, and they all do it. And that's one of the things you do. So you want them to go do that so they can get that experience and learn what it's like to deal with that, the feeling going in and dealing with the people at Whole Foods, but it's just at that specific store. It's not all of them. So we always have to say, how many stores of Whole Foods is it? And she wouldn't get in all the Targets. It would be a few Targets, and you'd at least test it.
Can I
She
tell
didn't
you
even
why
get
I
that
don't?
far.
Can I tell you why I don't think she wants to do something like that?
Yeah.
Because analytics would prove that she's not as successful. Target's not going to hide numbers from Bloomberg. Target's not going to hide numbers from the Wall Street Journal. And she doesn't want to be held accountable. She doesn't want, they might have stricter rules on where her products are made or what type of ingredients go into it. As far as you have the box right there, does it have a calorie count and all those that, I remember somebody being
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it does. Yeah.
90 calories for, what is
Well,
it,
there are
19?
just like there are different rules when you get into stores like that, and different states
Yeah.
have different rules for what needs to be on the box. I mean, I think it complicates things for her, and then she also wouldn't want to be held accountable when it comes to actual product moving for these companies. There's no way that that Whole Foods, Target, Sprouts, or anybody would keep this a secret for her.
Yeah. I believe you. Yeah, that makes sense as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, you might be right. But I can't see Target taking that stuff because I don't know where they'd put it in. There
Right.
is,
No, I understand your
yeah,
point too. I understand it's very well. First of all, like it's not proven itself. It's only been here since February, and you know the hero product is jam, and that's not something that I would when Chrissy Teigen did a line in Target, it was cookware, so that had a place. But can you see a giant kiosk dedicated to Meghan Markle's jam? I
no.
no, you're
And
right.
if she's interested in doing that, why doesn't she go to Ralph's or Gelson's or Kroger or Publix, or Whole Foods, anything, and sell those things in stores? If it's
Mhm.
selling that much and you don't want to put it in one of those, why hadn't she gone to Whole Foods and says, look, let's just try it out and see what happens?
Right.
Any of them. And anybody would take a meeting with her or with her people anyway. So if she doesn't have it in a grocery store and jam is the big thing for her, nah, they're not into it. I don't think
Yeah.
that many people are into it.
That's so weird. Like it's so weird to just the whole idea of being a duchess and then giving it all away for jam. I have a hard time believing this.
You took a hiatus from Instagram. You came back.
January. Woo, it's changed.
You're back. You're in action, but you're not on TikTok. I'm
Not
curious.
yet.
Why will you be going on TikTok?
I don't know. I mean, I think, look, I have had a very complicated relationship with social media, as you can probably imagine. And I also recognize the role that it plays in business. Part of it is, equally the work that you were talking about earlier. My husband and I spend a lot of time working on online harms, specifically surrounding protecting our children, not ours personally, but all of our children, for what they're susceptible to in the online space. So I'm sensitive to that. I also recognize that if you can show up in these spaces and be on the side of good, there is tremendous value in that also. So we're going to continue to expand the footprint in the social and digital space for the brand. For me personally, I don't know. The last time I was on Instagram, you guys, Boomerang was a thing. That was a long time ago.
It always annoys me when she talks about how she's like campaigning for behavior online when her fan base is some of the nastiest and the cruelest. It's like, get your people in check first. But the idea that, when she looks at the audience and she's like, Boomerang was a thing. What is she trying to, she obviously thinks that's a cute moment. Social media is beneath her. What is she trying to tell us there? That was weird to me.
Remember when she said, I don't know? She's whispering. She's not going to go to TikTok, I don't think, because she'd really get slammed there. And she's afraid people aren't going to, I think they would follow her on TikTok, but I don't think it would be as big as she thinks it's going to be. I could be completely wrong about that.
Morbid curiosity.
Yeah. But I don't think she's going to be on TikTok. She'll do Instagram. That's easy. A lot of people are there as well. So I don't see a problem with that. I don't think she sees a problem with that either, except if she has to keep the comments turned off. Have you been on her thing?
Yeah, she does. She goes into that. Let's just watch her say that, because that's interesting. This is to me her avoiding answering the question about how she navigates negative feedback. It's a pretty legitimate question. How do you navigate, or how do you decipher what is legitimate feedback that can be used to benefit your business? The cookies should come in a bigger box, smaller box, whatever, versus just naysayers. And Meghan tries to convince us that she has a lot of fans. Like, she's like, but no, there's a lot of people that do like me. And then she also says, and I turn the comments off for my fans, to protect my fans from negativity. Wait, really quickly, I just remembered one other thing. When she says I have a weird history or relationship with social media off the top, is she looking for sympathy there?
No, she's telling us, she's saying everybody knows that not a lot of people like me, and I get slammed on there a lot. Because look, I mean, every video I've done about them just been horrible. So she knows people don't like them or like her.
Then why does she keep showing up?
Because that's who it's like, why do you have the Joker in Batman? He's a bad guy. Well, you've got to have that personality type, that character, and that's where she can make money. She's the bad guy. That's how you make money doing that. Who would be the good guy in that situation, in that scenario? Who's on TikTok everybody likes, or Instagram everybody likes?
Well, I think if Meghan's the bad guy, I think the good guys are the British royal family, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
So we have one against the other. You can't have Coke without Pepsi. You can't have Advil without Tylenol. You have to have those things button up against each other. The royal family's going to do fine. She's not. But as long as she's against them and keeps throwing these things in, man, that's what keeps her afloat, her Meghan boat afloat.
So like when we talk about like the perpetual state of victimhood that they linger in, this wasn't an example of that for her to be like, well, you guys know I have a weird relationship with social media.
Of course it is. Yeah, it is, because it rings right back up. She's, married to Harry, who she calls her husband again. So you remember that, keep that in mind. You don't hear his name in here. Used to, that's all she talked about. And every time we come up, oh, Harry.
H. Yeah. All right. Let's go back in, because this is where she dodges this question about negative feedback and tells the host that the reason she has her comments turned off is to protect her audience.
Founders always have to look for signals in what's working, what's not working, how do I tinker, how do I pivot? How are you able to decipher out like the constructive from obviously the not constructive that you need to ignore?
Well, there are certain things that I've done just from my own self-preservation, but also that I've applied to the brand and for the people that are incredibly supportive. I know, the question can be around naysayers, but if you really see the groundswell of support that surrounds the brand and me, that's what I feel the most, and that's what I appreciate. But by design, I also recognize that a lot of those people aren't going to my page to see negativity. And so, not just protecting myself or the people that work with me, but also the supporters. So I don't have the comment section on. That's a choice. And yet, part of that challenge that I was trying to solve for was, then how do I create community? That is so key to this brand, and it's so key to how I like to show up in the world. How do we actually connect if you can't have comments and exchange?
She nailed it there. It's about community, and she doesn't have one. There is a community, but that community is built because they don't like her. That's the community that's there. She doesn't have the comments turned on because she doesn't want to see that. The narcissism doesn't want anybody to hear. She don't want to hear anything bad about her or have anybody saying bad stuff about her. So that whole thing, it's exactly what she's saying it is. It is about community, but she doesn't have one. There's not one there that's buying all this stuff she's got. I want to see how much she's really bought. I mean, people have really bought from her. I want to see what that is.
I know. I'm
You know,
very curious too. It's interesting too because she immediately pivots here and creates a problem so that she can talk, so she can be the hero. When she's talking about this community thing, she immediately goes, and I was having a hard time building a community by turning the comments off. So my social media manager sends me screenshots, and then I write with my calligraphy on top of the image and upload it. And that's the way I communicate with my audience. It's like, it was interesting to me because she doesn't answer the question, but she wants to look good. So she creates a problem within the scenario so that she can say, oh, by the way, I also found the solution. Did you like it? What is she doing there? Just trying to, she doesn't want to give the haters any feedback. She doesn't want to feed any sort of the people like you or I that could really dwell on whatever her answer is here.
well, that's called chaff and redirect. Greg Hartley came up with that. And what it is, like you see those, when you attack a plane, let's say you're from two countries are fighting and you have a bomber flying along, and these little, I mean, not necessarily, just say another fighter, and they're following each other fairly far apart. Well, this plane here is going to shoot a rocket at that plane. It's a heat-seeking missile, right? So what this plane does is it throws out what's called chaff. These things are on fire, sparkling, all kinds of things. And when it does that, it makes a big cloud of those, then it ducks over this way. So that missile won't follow the plane, it'll follow something in that chaff and those big hunks of metal and aluminum burning up. So that's what you have chaff. So you chaff and then you redirect, you go the other way, you go another way. So that's what she's doing with that question because she doesn't like the comments. That's why she's turned them off. But she's built it in this big, huge answer dealing with her company and her family and all everything little that you and I see as, oh, well, of course she's got her comments turned off. She can blow that thing up into her favor, to advantage for her, because she gets to bring up these things that make her the enemy. You have the royal family and you have the enemy. So you can't have Coke without Pepsi or Advil without Tylenol. So you have to have that rub in there happening. If she doesn't have that, she's got nothing. You think anybody would give
Do
a
you really
hoot?
think she's aware of that? You really think that she realizes, because she does say, I wish I could remember the specific quote in the Oprah Winfrey interview, but the in the Oprah Winfrey interview, she says something along the lines of like, there doesn't have to be a bad guy. Like she's angry that people are taking sides, but for what you're saying is there does, if this narrative is going to continue to work and if she's going to continue to stay relevant.
That's who she is. That's the character she is in this, in the scenario. And everybody that you see on YouTube or Instagram, anything like that, it's a character. And you say all these things about this person. You say, well, Scott Rouse, what's he doing? Well, he's got a bad haircut and a big nose, and he thinks he knows everything, and he talks about body language. And that's what you would say. He's a body language guy. He does this and that. What about Kinsey? What about, well, she's really cute and pretty and sweet. And then she talks about the royal family. We can't hate her because she's so nice about it, And you talk about other people. Everybody has a thing. Everybody can be characterized by something. This is who that person is, and that's who she is. She's the enemy of the state,
Yeah.
the royal family. You
Wow.
know,
All right. There's another, you mentioned this moment earlier, but I'd love to see you see it where the woman is like, you're a CEO, you're in the thick of it. And Megan goes, thank you.
What have you learned about yourself as a leader and as a CEO?
Thank you.
Do you know who she reminds me of when she does all this chattiness?
who?
Um, all of these wild words. She reminds me of Elizabeth Holmes, the girl that
Oh,
but wait till you see this picture of her.
oh man.
But
Well,
when she's using all those words and comes off as so insincere in there,
wow.
it reminds me of a fraud, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, what's her face? She is a fraud. That one. What's her name? The first one.
Elizabeth Holmes, yeah.
Yeah, man. She's a psychopath as well.
Oh wow, is she
Yeah.
really?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what you determined? Oh my gosh, I'm
Well,
gonna
I
have to
know
go
that.
watch that episode.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go on.
No, she's a psychopath. When people do things like what she did and put so many people's lives at risk like that and didn't care and kept talking about how wonderful her product was, no,
I mean, like what didn't even get even remotely close to being a working,
no,
functioning machine. Like,
nope.
talk to me about that. Thank you, because I think that's a nice place for us to end. Like,
Yeah.
what was the compliment there?
Calling her a CEO and a leader.
Yeah.
That's the compliment. She's like, you're a CEO. As a CEO and a leader, thank you. It's, that's odd behavior because there's no way you should be thanking her for saying that unless you see it from your perspective as a compliment to ask her to call her a leader and a CEO. And I don't think she's either. Just that part about Harry, how they
Yeah.
never called him Harry. They always talk about him, her husband. Let's see if that in the future as we go forward, let's see if that keeps happening. Let's see if that changes at all. If she
What
goes
is
back when
what
she's
are
talking
you
about
what's the
those.
translation? Is he being erased? Is she trying to change his role within her story?
She wants you to see her as something that earlier we talked about her pivoting. A pivot is when you are going one direction. Let's say you're selling sponges. And you're selling to people who are, that wipe up stuff on a cabinet and that's it. But let's say they find out that sponges, you find out they're using them to, something for space over here. Well, then you say, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to pivot and we're not for cleaning houses. We're over here for going to outer space. So you start making that product for that. That's the pivot you make. And people do it all the time and it's fine. But that's what's happening here. She's pivoting from being the Meghan Markle we've seen so far to this other thing. And she's going down this road of being the independent woman. Remember the structure at the first? That whole setup they talked about at the beginning is all we've heard about this whole time. And she said she's independent from her husband because she doesn't call him Harry. You can't share that with somebody now. Well, Harry and I, that's how she'd always get in with somebody. Make him feel like, hey, it's me trying to seem authentic, which there's no authenticity in this thing anyway. But she always called him H or Harry, no matter who she was talking to. But now it's her husband. Watch
Mm.
any other interview she's done. She's never, his name always comes up. And nobody keeps referring to him as her husband because we all know who that is. So it's the pivot for her to become someone else. Bands like the Beatles, they did so well because they would change as people changed. So she's changing. She sees this thing of
Taylor
independence
Swift is a
coming.
showgirl now.
There you go. Yeah, she's independent. She's doing all this. So this is where she's going. She's switching her thing to be about even more about just her. So, but keep in mind, she'll still keep that thing that keeps her the enemy. She'll keep that alive. So she'll have that, so she can remain the star of the movie. You've got the star, then you've got the enemy. You always got to have that other person in there if
No,
you're
you're
gonna
right. You're
in a
right. I
situation.
think that my enemy is probably Meghan Markle.
I think a lot of people feel that way.
All right. Well, if you have not subscribed to Scott Rouse on YouTube yet, please go and do it right now at this very moment. And the behavior panel on YouTube, because you are a jack of all trades. You're in a boy band, really, a YouTube boy band. So that's really cool.
A man band.
A man band. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Agree with us, disagree with us. Let us know in the comments below. I'm sure you have plenty to say about some of our compliments towards Megan. I'm sure you're mad about those. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. Scott Rouse, you are such a joy. Thank you for spending this time with me. I know it's painful to have to watch a Meghan Markle speech more than once.
I have the best time doing this because I don't have to be all serious, and I don't get in trouble
True.
for it.
It's true.
So
We do have fun.